Most of us will graduate qualified for the jobs that we want. That's the easy part. What's harder is actually becoming someone a company needs, someone they struggle to replace. I've been thinking about this gap a lot, partly because I experienced it myself. The skills that I showed off in the workplace were very different from the ones my GPA reflected. When I talk to people who've actually hired IB students, they describe indispensable people in a very consistent way. These are people who can very quickly create value, not just after 6 months of training, but in their first few weeks. They're people who actually solve real problems, not just write about them. And there's a real difference between analyzing why something's broken and actually fixing it. Here's something I noticed. Students, myself included, tend to do what gets them rewarded. In school, if you submit it, did you pass? Did you check the box? But at work, what gets rewarded is contribution. Did something improve because you were there? This disconnect is why a lot of us graduates feel qualified but not quite ready. And we've been optimizing for the wrong thing. And honestly, that's not entirely our fault. Now, I want to share how I learned this because it definitely was not straightforward. I started at college at Penn State University studying aerospace engineering. Then that didn't work out. So I switched to economics. That didn't work out either, and my grades plummeted. At the same time, I was also trying to build businesses with some of my friends, most of which failed, but I learned a lot of things that you can't learn in the classroom, like what happens when you miss a deadline with a real client, or how do you explain your ideas to someone who doesn't care about your process, just the results. When I transferred to UCF and got into the integrated business program, something changed. My grades still weren't great, but I was suddenly more effective in the ways that mattered. In group projects, I learned how to navigate different personalities. In presentations, I'd already practiced in higher stake environments. In case discussions, I had context from actually trying things out. The work I did outside the class made me better inside the class, not the other way around. I think the shift that IB students need to make is pretty simple, but it's not easy by any means. You have to stop thinking like someone who's completing assignments and start thinking like someone who needs to deliver outcomes. When you ask yourself, what can I actually contribute here, instead of what's required, that's when things really start to change. And it changes how your professors see you, it changes how recruiters see you, even changes how potential investors see you. And more than anything, how you see yourself. What I've seen work, there's really 3 things worth developing. First, be intentional about positioning yourself. Don't just take classes that fit your schedule. Think about what skills you're building and whether anyone will actually pay for them. Make choices that signal where you can add value. Second, learn to work with people. Real impact almost never comes from solo work. It comes from understanding what people need and building trust and collaborating even when it's difficult. The students who are good at this stand out immediately. Third, communicate in ways people use. Anyone can analyze data. What's rare is translating that analysis into something a decision maker can act on. Learn to do that. None of this shows up on a transcript, but all of it shows up on interviews. I think a lot of students assume any experience is a good experience, and that's not really true. What matters is whether you're actually solving a real problem with real consequences, not simulations or hypotheticals. Whether you can point to a specific outcome you owned. If you can't show what changed because of your work, it's hard to prove you contributed. And whether you built something tangible that employers can look at. A portfolio of actual work beats a perfect GPA any day. This could be internships, startups, and consulting projects, running a student organization through a real challenge. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is, did you have responsibility? Did you have someone depend on you? Did you follow through? There's data on this. 82% of employers say internship experience is their top factor when choosing between candidates who look similar on paper. They're looking for proof you can deliver. A few things make all of your other work more valuable. Using data to back up decisions instead of doing it with your gut. Employers really value this. Understanding the actual tools and systems your industry uses so you're not starting from ground zero. and being comfortable with failure. Being able to try something, have it not work, adjust, try again, and getting discouraged is all part of the process. I don't think you learn any of these from lectures. You learn them by doing difficult things repeatedly and paying attention to what breaks. What do I think all of this means? To directly answer the question, I think IB students become indispensable when they're encouraged and rewarded for solving real problems, taking smart risks, and proving that they can contribute before graduating. When students are treated like future assets instead of people just completing requirements, both the learning and the career outcomes improve. Here's what I learned from struggling from this myself. Indispensability isn't something that gets handed to you at graduation. It's something you build before you get there. The students who figure that out early, they're not competing for jobs. They're choosing between offers.